My name is Taylor. I'm with Hacking Company at Remax River City, and it is a real pleasure to have Kelly Ritchie from 360 Impressions. You can find her website at 360impressions.ca. And the main thing that we're going to be talking about today is show experience. You know, when we're talking about real estate, a lot of, if you look online, like let's say you were to wander into an Instagram hashtag that basically said real estate, you're going to see amazing visuals. That's what people are attracted to. Definitely can tell you that buyers respond to that. And I want to hear a little bit more about your world, because I'm a fan of visuals. I can't like make that stuff happen. You know, when the teammates here at Hacking Company are walking through with clients, we kind of talk about a couple of things, but we know where our end or where the edge of our understanding stops. We can basically kind of tell them what's wrong, but you bring solutions. So thank you so much for coming and chatting with us, Kelly. I know that you walk through houses with people regularly. What does that kind of look like as a process?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on today, Taylor. And what I do is such a great passion, and I love helping homeowners, and I love helping the real estate agents. When the agent provides a staging service with their business, it shows the client that you actually do care about the process of how the home selling process goes for them, and you're trying to make it easier for them, as moving is a big deal. Like it's a big process, it's a lot of work, and it's quite stressful. So when you guys come in and you recommend a stager, we basically help the client get their property in show condition. So like you said, visual is a huge process of all of this, and it's the marketing of the property that really helps get the property sold quickly, and a lot of times for more money than actually list, and that helps the homeowners. The return on investment is amazing for them, and yeah, it's just a great process. So
I like how you're talking about the outcomes, right? Because when people are attracted to houses, what we know is that buyers will become nervous when it feels good, and that's what you do. So when you come in the front door with someone, let's say that you go through the process where they welcomed you into your house, where do you like to start? Do you like to start in the kitchen or the living room? And I often see some people having to transition from their home to show home. And what does your advice look like in many cases to those clients as you're walking through?
well, I would think the first part for the new prospective buyers would be the curb appeal. When you pull up to a property, you want the property to show nicely on the outside as well. So you don't want to have kids' toys and hoses and your Christmas lights still up in July, as it just shows pride of the property. So when we do walk into the property, we want to have a big wow factor as soon as you walk into the front entryway. So that's cleaning out the closets, because whatever is attached to the property will be looked at.
Okay, I'm going to break this down a little bit. So so first off, you're saying that anything that should be viewed by buyers should be intentional. So when they pull up to the outside of the property, you know, this time of year, if you still have your Christmas lights out, that sends a message to them, right? The other thing, because they do think that everything done there is for them. What else is on the outside of the house this time of year that you would say, hey, you know, change this? What do you see that you suggest moving or changing?
Well, in the wintertime, I guess we're all seasonal here. We're not fortunate enough to live where the sun shines 24 or 365 days a year here. So we do have our seasons. So in the winter, just make sure all your sidewalks and your steps and everything are free and clear, no ice, that kind of thing. In the spring and summer, just all the old dead leaves, any garbage that's blown in, kids' toys that have been laying around. Trim up those bushes a little bit, trim those trees. Possibly, we're in Canada, we live in Alberta, we're a hockey country. If you have puck marks on your garage, maybe give your garage a little swipe of some paint, touch it up a little bit. So
you got me. I got puck marks on my garage, and and I love how you're saying that, like, you're kind of touching some people's bruises here. And I find that a lot of sellers don't understand that people will see this, and it's not going to be the same with their house and all the other houses that they're being viewed and also essentially competing against. So I like how you're touching on those things and saying, like, make it look intentional, make it look like this place is really taken care of, because that'll change how people feel. Now, you were suggesting wow when they come in the door. I know that can be taken a couple of different ways. What do you like when you're standing on the inside of a doorway and you're setting a first impression? I imagine that's probably what you do just before you finish staging. You know, if you're working with a vacant space, you'll probably come back to the doorway and look and say, okay, what is my first glance? Because that's so powerful. What do you think hurts the first glance the most?
I would say clutter. If you open the front door and you have 4 or 5 pairs of shoes, boots, blocking, you can't open the door all the way, clutter is a big thing. So it's best you're going to be moving anyway, so pack it up. Label everything correctly. It'll help you in the long run when you move. And we like to see clean, open areas.
I love it. And really, when we take a look at people think, okay, packing it up, what am I going to do with these boxes? And I know that there's many, the primary element is to make sure that the boxes are in a place where they look organized. So if you choose a spot in your garage, if you choose a spot in your basement, as long as the boxes allow somebody to see the dimensions of the space, you're normally all right.
Correct. Yeah. So we recommend the garage, but if the vehicles need to be in there and it's not
a billion degrees below,
that as well.
We're in quite the cold snap right now, so just tell some people that they're going to have to park outside if they're getting ready to bring their house to the market. But honestly, there's good reason to do that. It's busy. And in that case, I think that putting those boxes in a place where they're going to be out of the way, but also transitioning from your house to in transition. That's what it looks like. You're just getting ready to move, right? Well, why not start with the stuff that's hurting your show experience?
Exactly.
And I love what you mentioned there, clutter. And when we're talking about clutter, that's going to draw attention to closets, because I don't know that everybody knows this, but buyers look in closets every single time.
Correct. Yeah. If you, they need to know how much closet space they have, and they should always be able to see the floor. If you would be surprised how many homes I've been into, and I've walked into people's closets or opened the doors to those bifolds, and the amount of empty hangers hanging there is unbelievable. If you take those empty hangers out, you gain at least 3 to probably a foot of closet space, and it just doesn't make everything look so cluttered, because you can spread things out, you hang things properly, fold your sweaters properly, that kind of thing. So go through the closets.
And really, when we're talking about how buyers react to things, I know that a buyer never approaches a full closet, opens it up, it's just jammed in there, and they're like, hey honey, look how much stuff they got in here. Right? That doesn't demonstrate your storage space. Exactly. Capacity remaining demonstrates your storage space. Like, if you looked into a closet and saw they weren't even using all the space, like you could get like 30% more stuff in there. That's what's attractive. I like how you put it. You should be able to see the floor. That's awesome. So let's turn into the kitchen. Where are people missing the boat on the kitchen?
I would say the counters. Open concept kitchens are a big deal right now. Counter space is a big deal. People, if the property is a little bit smaller, they will purchase or have built a island. That little counter space is a great place, and the kitchen is the party. That's where you have your family gatherings, your friends come over, you play cards, you're hanging out in the kitchen, that kind of thing. So you want to make sure that you show the counter space and it's clean.
That's awesome. I like how you put that. So a lot of people, when they're living in their house, they're going to have a few of the regular items, utility items on the counter. Like the coffee maker's going to be there, and there's going to be some paper towel, and there's going to be a few other elements, and then it starts to build from there. Like the toaster's out there, and now you're going to have the soap for the kitchen sink. And they don't realize, because they use them all the time and they just see them as being handy, how it doesn't look like that to the people that are walking in. They want to see those clear countertops and then kind of work their way out from there. That's great. And also, I think that more people should be looking at the fact that a buyer's going to look inside the kitchen cabinets. So getting in there and dusting and stuff like that, I think that really makes a big difference in how people see the house, because this isn't saying, how you do anything is how you do everything. And what they're really trying to do is feel more comfortable. Like it's been the experience. I was just talking to Kim about this recently. Like she was walking through a house that was well staged and it wasn't in a good location. And that house was really compelling to her clients, even though there was a house that was a technically better purchase. And it took Kim it was a challenge for her to basically take their draw from that and talk to them about the like how to invest in real estate intelligently. So I know that your magic works. I'm going to change the conversation just a little bit to say, okay, now we talked a little bit about the deficits of the main floor, but you also boost it. Like even for those families that are home right now, maybe you just never got around to the artwork. Maybe you can get some things clear, but you don't have like, my wife is someone who's a total minimalist. She wouldn't keep things that were like decor items around very much. And that's something that you do to boost those. I think you guys call it occupied staging.
Correct. Yeah, we will go into a person's property just before they're ready to list. Most of the times is better before they list. And we will go through each room and we will get them to declutter, box things up. We will give them tips and tricks how to make their bed properly. If they have really crazy neon bedspread, we'll ask them to tone it down a little bit, just neutralize a little bit. We want to showcase the property. We don't want to showcase the homeowner's goods. So we will add art. We'll add most likely little greeneries, because green is a great pop of color. It also is very natural and it's very soothing to people as well. So yeah, that's what we do. We go in and we just minimalize everything, give tips and tricks that people would not think about.
See, I love it because you see the space that as you walk through it every day if it's your house, and all of a sudden Kelly comes over and then the fact that you even have a product for that is so great that when somebody's coming to the market, if the big thing I get is like, where do I start? And it's like, well, actually, Kelly gives you a really concise list of where to start so that you're not spending your time and energy in a way that it's not going to get you results, because some people do that. Or some people think that they've got to make it perfect and then they can only work at it like an inch at a time, where you're going to tell them the things that matter the most first. But you were saying that when you're bringing in accents, when somebody's doing this occupied staging, what's a power pack from 360 look like? What do you normally have in the van when you're pulling up to a house to do that occupied staging? Because we see that you do some pictures, and mirrors is a big deal, right?
Mirrors is a great idea. So in my van, in my power pack, I have some throw blankets. I have some decor pillows, that kind of thing, just to give it a more homey kind of feel, soft, luxurious. I have artificial plants. I have little plants. I have lamps. I have white crisp towels that gives a nice clean feel, that kind of thing. So it's just little things like that, and I have some cleaners.
That's fantastic. So I think that there's a lot of people that don't necessarily see it holistically, and they're like, who cares about pillows and throw blankets? And you're like, well, I get it. You don't. But this is like cake. Could you imagine eating a cake without any icing? Because the people that, first off, they seem to graduate from having like the utility furniture that they were given. And then you start to see more, normally as families get more established, they'll buy matching stuff. and that kind of raises the bar a little bit. And then as you go a little bit further, they'll start to fill in the gaps, and all the spaces in their house that accommodate artwork will start to get full. And the people that are really good at carrying themes, that normally is stuff where they start to get experts involved. And so I think that I like the idea that when you're going to put your property on the market, that you take a look at it and say, okay, you know, there's a bunch of people that would kind of like cake, but nobody really pays for cake that doesn't have icing, right?
Exactly. So, and it's also a problem when people hear, "Oh, you should hang your pictures at eye level." Well, some people like myself, well, I'm 5'5", and other people's are like 6'4". So when you have your pictures way too high, it doesn't create a nice even flow. And we want the home to look homey and cozy, and just make buyers say, "Oh my gosh, look at how nice and cozy this looks." We want to create focal points of the property. We want to highlight the home's features, whether that be the bright, spacious living room. We open up all the blinds. We let the natural light in, that kind of thing.
That's awesome. And and now let's go to the other spot. Like, we're talking about these open concept houses being hot. That's also a huge problem point. Like, you know, you take a look at, especially some of the places that have sprawling floor plans, like those 1,600 square foot bungalows. When they're vacant, they don't feel good at all. And so when we move to unoccupied staging, a lot of people feel a little bit, you know, they feel like this is such a big project. And then they talk to somebody about like what it's like, and the first thing that people tend to lead with is price on this stuff, because obviously if you were to think about what the job is, you have to move all the furniture in, move all the furniture out, and have all the furniture available at a timeline. Like, could you imagine having to go buy all this stuff and wait for orders and all those other things as you're getting ready to go for the market? But I think a lot of people, they fail to understand that when you bring a table, you're not bringing a table, you're like bringing the table. Like, you guys have a massive amount of inventory to choose from. So can you talk us a little bit more through defining those open concept spaces when you're staging vacant properties?
You know, a lot of people just think that we just go in and put furniture in. There's so much more to what we do. We go in on our initial consultation and we'll match paint colors. We'll make sure that we have the right color for the furniture color for what the walls are, how to accent that. We do a room by room measure. We pull out the tape measure and we ensure we have those correct dimensions. We measure the window height. We measure doorways. Doorways are a big one. If you go to bring a couch in and you can't get it through the door, well, you got bigger problems. So we do every room by room measure. We measure the counter heights. If we bring some kind of decor in for the kitchen, we have to make sure that it's scaled properly. So we make sure everything is fit to scale. When we go source our furniture, we actually go measure the couch to ensure that that couch is going to be fit to scale, that kind of thing. So the rugs, the room sizes, you know, the art, the scale of the art has to match above the couch or above the fireplace, or that kind of thing has to match the wall scale. So there's a lot of work involved for it, but when you bring up everything in and you put everything out, it's so satisfying because it looks so amazing. And many times my clients have said, "Oh my gosh, my house didn't look like this when I lived here, and I don't know if I want to sell it now because you made it look so beautiful," and that kind of thing. So we're very successful with our vacant staging, and it just helps the new buyer imagine what their furnishings and property would look like inside there.
Yeah, and really, like, an example could be seen in the marketplace if anybody ever visits a builder show home, because they obviously don't leave those empty, right? And if they
Correct.
did, if you tour, especially if you go in the show home and maybe the person's like, "Hey, I got another one that's just about done, you can walk through," and that one's vacant, you really understand, because in those show homes, they spend some major money. Like, can you give us an understanding? Would it be like over 50,000 that they would spend in a show home for a build that's probably 600?
Definitely. Absolutely. Definitely. So when people have a vacant property that they're trying to sell, house flippers, people who have had to leave, got a new property, family reasons, relocation of jobs, that kind of thing. Yeah, we put a minimum of ourselves, like stagers ourselves, a minimum of $20,000 worth of goods in that home.
Wow.
And it's very economical for the homeowner who's selling to go with staging, because it's just a rental fee for them every month.
Yeah, and I think that that's something that that really isn't said enough, that if you want your property to sell, it would be really hard if your place showed well and was priced right and nobody knew about it. That's kind of what we do on our side. But imagine if everybody knows about it, you've got your price that should be competitive, but for some reason when people go there, it just feels like an empty space. And if your competition is well dressed, you're in trouble. Because most buyers are walking through, a dozen properties and then voting with their money. And that's where you can really change the game. I myself, as a listing agent, have talked to clients about staging who chose not to. We ended up being on the market for 3 months and then talked about this as an alternative to a price change. And so I think that that's where the rubber meets the road, because instead of making a price change that probably would have been in the tens of thousands on a luxury home, we made a staging change that was a fraction of that cost, and we clipped the buyer after being on the market for a long time. And I have to say that the proof is in the pudding there. If all these professionals, if all these people that are doing professional renovations and professional show homes are buying this furniture themselves, because they're often holding it for a long period of time, but a homeowner could do that at a fraction of a cost for a rental. That's amazing. And I love how you broke it down talking about the measurements, because I think that the scale element is really where you drive it home. We had somebody that had a property that was like a 1,500 square foot 2-story with a central staircase. And if you imagine being in that house, because of the small square footage and the amount, it was a very inefficient floor plan. Like a central staircase really finds its home in like a 2,400 square foot 2-story. And here we've got this little bitty one, and your whole life is around the stairs, right? So constantly we're seeing it in our feedback, because our team collects feedback that it was like the living room orientation, right? And that's the problem I wish more people would bring to people that have your expertise is that, we're getting this feedback, and all it was is they flipped out the living room and I couldn't believe it. Like when you got the right furniture in there, because the client was choosing comfortable furniture. They were not choosing furniture that was appropriate for the room. And how often do you see that?
We see that a lot. And it's amazing. If you move a sofa from one spot to another, how much more room you can gain. And Taylor, I also want to add that, when buyers are online looking, because technically that's your first showing online. People just don't go drive around and go knock on someone's door. Hey, I see your house is for sale. Can I come have a look? People go look online. They drive by, they see the sign. Hey, look at that beautiful property. When they go look online and they see a room that's empty, the pictures show how I screwed that part up, sorry.
No, that's all right. You were right on it. What you're telling us is that, like, I think that the way that we talk to our clients when they're prepping for the market is that we want them to understand that they're going to have probably a dozen viewings. If you have a really successful sale, it could be very quick, where you have a weekend that's just crazy. Or it could be two a week as you adjust to the market if you need to adjust. But really, that is a fraction of the tens of thousands of people that see the pictures online.
Exactly.
So when you're saying that, like, what's your first impression? How are you going to close those very valuable showings? And if your game, like if your A game is this blank room, you're in trouble. But you also make good choices. When you're staging vacant, do you stage everywhere?
We do give that option as well, but mostly we do the main primary room. So that would be your kitchen, your living room, dining room, and the master bedroom for sure. We'd like to throw in an office den area, whether we convert a spare bedroom into one of those, as everyone nowadays has been working from home. The kids are being homeschooled. It's nice to have that little area where you can sit and open up your laptop, have some nice quiet area to work on some stuff, whether it be for you or for your kids, family kind of thing. So
that's awesome. I love it. And I like how you're focusing on some impact spots, because we like to get really hot shots of those in photography as well. And we know that pictures sell houses. Now, the one other element that I don't think people really understand that they can talk to you about is when they're choosing paint. Because I don't want anyone to ever talk to me about choosing paint. I know 8 colors, and the rest I just use dash and ish, like bluish green. And then I can kind of line it up. And where do you think that the people that you talk to most often are struggling when they're choosing paint?
Oh, I would say throughout the whole property. If you have a family in the house with you, and your kids want a hot pink room because they're a little girl, and you think that's a great idea, and they want a hot pink room, those buyers don't want to buy a hot pink room or a hot lime green room, that kind of thing. You need to tone it down. Everything needs to be neutral. And nowadays people want move-in ready. They don't want to have to, oh, well, yeah, we got possession of our brand new house, but oh, wait, we have to wait a week because we have to paint. We have to get it painted, that kind of thing. So knocking down your hot colors down to a neutral, touching up walls, painting is the most economical home upgrade you could do.
Man, I like that comment, because it is an upgrade. I hate painting. I'm not going to do it. I don't want to hire somebody. It's such a pain. And really, when you're approaching a house, even if you kind of like those colors, it's not yours. And they're often statements. So I think that more people should understand that by bringing it back to neutrals, what you're saying is that this can be your place. If you want to do a feature wall, you can do a feature wall. Because your feature wall, even if it's in the same color realm, it might be a little different than what I want to see. And because it's a statement, it should be yours.
Exactly.
So when you're saying neutral, how much of a color is that?
Neutral is like your whites, your off-whites, your taupes, your brown, light browns, beiges, that kind of thing.
So we're saying so close to white that it's like white with a little bit. It's like white's cousin. It's not when people say, oh yeah, it's I'm gonna do, like, grays are popular right now, and they're like, yeah, I'm just gonna paint it gray. And it's like, no, like white gray, like barely gray. Is that what you mean when you say neutral? Because that's my understanding of it.
Taylor, when I go to color consultations, I bring my paint deck. So when you say white, I have a paint deck that has 75 different whites in there. We try and match it properly to what your countertops look like, your appliances, your door frames, your door colors, that kind of thing, and your floors.
You just blew my mind. The 75 whites, and like the thought of a white that has a slight accent where you can tie other things in the room. You've taken me into the realm that's beyond me.
Exactly. And that's in a lot of people's wheelhouses as well. They're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea.
Well, man, when you take a look at the work that goes into painting, or the cost that goes into paying someone else to do it, I really think more people should be certain of their paint choices and talk to somebody that has that level of skill. Because when you're taking a look at like the fractions of white to match to things, I have to say that that's the level of expertise that you would want somebody to use when they're about to kind of engage in that type of project, especially if you're already at that icing level. If you're somebody who likes artwork and is moving in that direction where you're getting kind of tones and themes in your house, then really talking to people that can help you level up there, because I don't have the time to understand these things at the level that you do. And as I mentioned, I can be like, yeah, that's awful. But then after that, it's not like, oh, let's pick white 71. It's more like, let's call Kelly. So thank you so much for talking to us a little bit about how you help homeowners. We're so excited that you're out there to help those people prepare for sale, because families are overwhelmed. Now they're schooling from home, they're working from home. So much has changed. I have to say that, like, you probably also talk to people about choosing furniture and trying to basically scale into some of these things where they have to do more from the same spaces.
Correct. Yeah, and it's all about functionality as well. Your room has to have a purpose, and it should be have a function as well. So if you have 3 little kids, I'm not going to put a big contemporary white leather sofa in your home.
I appreciate that, the utility of that stuff, because I got 2 little kids and this little French bulldog that has been going after upholstered chairs. And I have to say, he's so cute, but my wife's going to turn him into a handbag if he keeps going.
Your little Hugo is pretty cute.
Yeah, he's something else. We're calling him the notorious HUG. But you'll have to meet him. Thank you so much for talking to us a little bit about this. I really appreciate that you come on video. I know it's you just did so well. So thank you very much for coming in. This is Kelly Ritchie. She's from 360 Impressions that you can find at 360impressions.ca. And let's boost your visuals so that we can boost your resale. We really appreciate that there's ways to create value, and many of them are different than what you think. And it really starts with Kelly having coming to your house and doing a walkthrough where she can at minimum create you a list, and in many cases she can change your outcome.
Excellent. Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Taylor, and thanks for letting me spread the word about home staging and redesign. And our main goal is just to help the homeowners get as much out of their property as they can. They're one of their biggest purchases, and has the most equity in there. So
absolutely. And I think that many people are going to be talking to you about what their backgrounds are looking like in the future. They're going to be saying, hey, listen, what do I do here? Is this the right colors? And so I'm probably going to ask you for some notes later. So thank you so much, and hope you're doing awesome. Cheers.
Okay. Thanks, Taylor.